All right, good morning, folks. Sorry, within 5 minutes of the scheduled start time, I think I went live here, so I'm pretty proud of myself. We are just getting everybody organized here in the conference room. I did share my screen, so you should be able to see the presentation. I got Eric, Jason, and Mr. Tom Nass are going to share a few thoughts here for maybe the first 25 minutes, hopefully less than a half hour, and then we will get rolling. So one sec here, and I will unmute us, and we will get started here with Hendy sharing some thoughts to begin. Hello. Yep. So there's a handful of people on.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. We got good attendance. All right, we'll get started. I know we want to spend the bulk of our time breaking into small groups on things, but I will kind of kick things off here. I saw this. I was looking at some newsletter, and this was on the bottom of it, and I'm like, this is so true, right? We can't predict the future, right? I mean, we've been thinking we had it figured out for the better part of this year, and it's clearly a little bit different. I think under the wider lens, things will go where we want, but we just don't know in the tighter time frame exactly what the market is going to do. So, I mean, there's, again, the bucket of things we can control and things we can't control. So we got to stop hoping and wishing on the things we can't control, and we got to focus on what we can control. And I think it's, again, the only way to predict the future is to create it. So what do we want to accomplish, right? We want to do more business, right? We want to grow. We want to build our book, right? So what can we do now under this environment to improve that goal, right? that's what we got to focus on. So we're not going to hope for lower rates, and we're not going to grind our teeth over the PCE when it sucks. Well, we probably will. But, I mean, you know what? We're not going to pin our hopes on it as much. Maybe Tom will. I'll talk him off the ledge. So anyway, so we need to create our own futures, right? I've said it at the last couple of roundtables. I'll say it. We've never been better than we are today. Like the people in this room, the quality of our loan officers, the quality of our staffs, operations. We've never been better. We've been bigger before, but we've never been better. You know, I put it in the hockey terms. We used to be 5 lines with healthy scratches in the stands and 4 goalies and whatever else. Now we're down to 3 sets of, you know, wings, 2 centers playing 5D, and we got 1 goalie, and one of the defense can play goalie if the goalie gets hurt. You know, I mean, we're lean. We're efficient, and that's great. I love that. It's the Navy SEALs deal, right? We don't need a big army. We just need really, really good people that are dedicated to kicking ass. And that's what we have. And I've never been more excited about who we are as a company. I would take a tremendous amount of pride. And as much as the market is very challenging, in certain ways, I've never been more excited to be involved in this, because I think that if we stay focused, there's just tremendous opportunity for us going forward. The pool of originators is getting thin, right? Who wants it? Who believes in what we do? Who believes in the sweater we're wearing, right? Who believes in the industry and how we serve people, right? So we got to remember that. It's hard. I know we got bills to pay. We got mouths to feed. You know, we got to do deals, right? So let's control the things we can control, put ourselves in the best position to create the future that we want to have, right? So you want to click to the next. There we go. I always love this picture. I just thought this is a good excuse just to put this up, but I just like last person standing, right? Which one do you want to be? Do you want to be Joe Louis laying on the ground, or do you want to be Muhammad Ali, right? We got to have that kind of killer attitude. I view it as there's 5 months here. We're almost done with one, so a little over 4. I view it as like a boxing match, right? So, I mean, we got to get ourselves into next year, right? And if you want to survive a 5-round fight, we got Sam here. He's, you know, Taekwondo, karate kid. Like, if you want to get through the end of the meet, right, you got to survive the first round. So we can't be worrying about the 5th round of the fight until we survive the first round. We're gonna get knocked out, right? Like Tyson, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So we got to be laser focused on our immediate presence now. What we do every day, every week, then it takes care of the month. Then we check the box, and then we go to the next one. So it's imperative, just like a fight, just like a hockey game, just like a football game, you got to go into it with a game plan. So what we need to ask ourselves is, each of you have a game plan? Do you have that set up in advance? Are you working on that over the weekend for the coming week? Are you working it a week in advance? The question is, do you have a game plan for your personal fight? That's about just going forward as our career, but certainly the next 5 months. We have to be really scripted. Like, I played football in college, and we would script out the first 3-4 series. So no matter what, the emotion of the game, everything else, we are going to script our offensive series because we're going to stick to that plan. It may or may not go well. The first series might suck. We might fumble, whatever. We have to punt. But we're going to stick to that script because it takes the emotion out of it. And it's based on our analytics we did before the game on what is the best realistic opportunity to have success against that opponent, right? That's how we have to approach our business. So if you feel as though you're getting up in the morning, you don't have a plan, you're waiting for the phone to ring, you're frustrated, you have downtime, you find I get it. We have things with our family, things we want to do, right? And I'm not saying even you can be a great loan officer and not be working 40 hours a week and doing some of those other things. If you have a scripted plan and you're executing on those things, you can be very productive. but I think we all have to up our game plan with our script. And I don't, right here, this roundtable, you've probably noticed it over the last several months and year as a company, we're creating more and more structure in the resources that we try to provide you. Tuesday training topics, the Wednesday meetings, the roundtables, the quarterly in-person get-togethers, right? We're trying to create structured opportunities for us to get together, to learn, to be better at what we do. We're not a look-over-your-shoulder kind of company. I've always said, this is where grown-ups come to do mortgages. And hopefully you feel that way. Like, you're trusted to do what you need to do. We give a lot of leash and flexibility. If you talk to Brad and Dan, our ops team, we'll close deals. We'll take your word for it. You're going to get this. You're going to get that. Great. Do it. We'll close. And everybody follows through, because this is where grown-ups are doing mortgages, and we have great people, and that's a big advantage that we have. But again, it's up to each one of you to decide how successful you want to be, right? We'll give you all those resources. It's up to you individually to script your own game plan, certainly for these next 5 months, because let's just be honest, right? We're all friends here. We know each other. We care about each other. I view this as way more of a family than it is a company. It's where I spend the vast majority of my waking hours, way more than my family. Just ask them. But again, just, you got to look and say, what am I willing to do as an individual right now in this environment? How structured can I make my days to make sure that when things do turn, we're in a position to be successful? So that's really the purpose when we get together this roundtable. So everybody's going to be a little different in what they do, right? But we're going to have to be ready, because again, even in the best of times, again, tree of trust here, like these months typically kind of suck. Even in the best of times, right? I mean, we do budget, Jay and I, we grind over the budgets, November, December, January, February, rough. And a lot of times, it's maybe because we're taking breathers, as Jay likes to call it, the swimmer's breath, just come up and go on a vacation and take it easy and do some things, and then we get back after it. The spring parade of homes comes, and we get up and we get going again. I think this year we're going to have to be pretty structured on what we do to make sure we're lining up our dominoes, so when that market does move in our direction, we're ready to go. So we're going to have to be, I think, a lot more structured and intentional about our actions collectively, individually, and as a company over the next 5 months to set us up for success. But, just about everybody in here is an athlete at some point or another, and it's just like every game's a challenge, right? And these are challenges that we have, but that's part of the fun, and we provide great value to people out there. So we just got to be, it's like Muhammad Ali comes in the ring, you got to have a little swagger, you got to want it. I think he didn't want it right there. Like, look at that picture, you got to have that look in your eye. When we're out there, we got to want it. There's no time for quitters right now. There's no time for getting down in the dumps, whatever. Market is what it is, right? Let's just do everything we can do. Let's control the things we can control to create the future that we want. So I wanted to frame that, so as we go into that mindset, let's take it seriously. Let's come out of today with some components of an action plan, and take some time. I really encourage you all, take some time, quiet time, to map out yourself. What does it look like? What do you envision your practice, your book of business? What does your future look like? And back into daily, weekly, monthly activities that are going to get us through these months and beyond and be successful. All right. I think it's Jay. Is he talking market?
Yeah, pricing.
All right.
Talk about that too, whatever. Either way.
I don't know, Jay, you can. I think I sent this one out. This is a good one. This first one on the left, right? So you kind of got, it's kind of like a figure skating deal. You have the Russian judge, the American judge, and the British judge, right? So take the middle one, and you're probably going to be okay. Throw out the. I like this one because it shows where predictions were before the higher for longer, before the economy kind of showed more resiliency. But clearly, even the solid lines, it's downward sloping, right? So it's getting there, even though it's been moved up. So when you show this to people and they're doing current loans, like, yeah, things have been adjusted, but look, in general, there's still very, very high probability by the end of next year we're going to be in a significantly lower interest rate environment. So I just think that's a nice piece if you do want to share that with people. Certainly when you're doing 6-month checkups, touch bases, whatever else, certainly the people that you closed loans with in the last 2 years, that's a great graphic, right? People like graphics. I think that's something pretty good. So that was on the Optimal Blue call yesterday, so I thought that'd be a good one to share. And Jay, you can talk about it.
All right. Can you go back to, did you have the slide that Dee and I had when rocks go back? The guy down, did you have Balboa coming next when he gets up after he gets hit? Do we have that?
Talk through that one.
See? Because what is it not about? How hard you can get hit and keep going forward. Has anyone seen that? How much you can take and what? Yep. So did Lewis get up? Does anyone even know? Oh, that's Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Yeah. Marciano beat Lewis. We're talking about a couple of things. All right. We'll get back to that. Go back. Main thing,
Got a roll.
Yeah.
The German fought.
You can tell I definitely. Who's with me? Talk about scripting out. I don't script out what I'm going to say, but here's what I will say. A couple things to follow up on. Pricing is something that is so important, and I think everybody deals with that. That's the thing you're always battling. We've talked about it. I've talked about it on calls. We've had conversations. I've had conversations with so many people, but I still am seeing and hearing and getting feedback from people calling and talking about, hey, I'm competing in this deal. I'm showing them this. Well, what did you show them? Well, I'm still selling the way people were selling. Well, we're going to refi you, so let's not pay anything. We can't keep doing that. If you're doing that in this market, you're going to lose. Almost every time you're probably going to lose, or you're going to get beat up pretty hard. You have to start with showing one, right? Doesn't mean you can't show with paying a half, paying none. There's just no premium buy-ups and buy-downs, as everybody can see. You have to start with one as your option. You can put the 3 options, you should be. Because if you don't, someone else is gonna. They're all going to. And so a lot of times by the time it comes to myself or Rob, it's like, yeah, I'm competing here. This is it. Well, I was showing them a half, and now I'm going to go back and put another half on. Looks like you're adding something. Okay, now you're looking like you're adding. It's different to say, here it is, here's our pricing. And again, credit score is important. And if you're not explaining when you're having a conversation with a client about credit scores and, hey, you guys are at 780, 760, which is great, but 780 is where the highest is. You don't know what someone else might be showing them if they haven't pulled their credit. And we don't want to encourage them to go pull their credit. We're not in the days of, hey, prove it, go get them to get you a full LE if they haven't even started. Now, if someone's already gone down that road with someone else and they have one, provide it, that's great. We want to be careful about forcing someone to go really work to get another quote from someone. Because what happens now, they're going to get a chance to say, oh, well, here, now I'm getting all your information. Now I'm getting more accurate. So we want to try to put bullet holes in that if they don't have a quote. If it's like, well, I'm working with Chad, and all of a sudden, well, yeah, I just talked to someone, and they said I should call them. I gave them a quick call. They quoted this. They don't have your credit score right now? No. Okay, if you didn't educate them on it up front. Credit score overlays are huge right now. Because there's no premiums. Where's Willie? Is he in here? Sure. We have a 739. The guy missed no payments, great everything. It's like 3/8 difference than a 780. But sometimes you're just not, and again, loan to value, everything comes into play. So we have to be educating everyone on it, but we have to start with one in this market. And it goes against everything from maybe 12 months ago, 18 months ago, even maybe 6 or 8 months ago when we were probably in January in this room saying, yeah, we're just, that was when rates were in the 6s. It's like, yeah, we're going to refi you when you get into 5 and all that. We can't keep saying, hey, you don't want to pay anything, we'll refi you later. You can say these are options and let you make the choice. Here's what we would think, but you gotta make sure you change that thing. And it also is going to change, not to look ahead too far, but when the refis do come, the days of just saying, hey, and then we'll do a no-cost refi for you, I don't think you can say that with confidence with the way the pricing is and the way the markets are going to be. There might be the day where we're doing all these refis like we used to do probably 20 years ago. I'm dating ourselves now, where, hey, you can do a refi with paying $1,900, $900, or $0, rolling it in, all that stuff. Because if the market doesn't expand the premium buy-ups, you're not going to be able to do that no-cost refi. So we got to be careful on saying no-cost refi. But back, like I said, I think last meeting, you're going to be calling people saying, I can save you $300 a month. We haven't been able to do that for years. So I'm going to save you $300 a month. We're going to roll the $1,900 in costs in. Let's go. They're not going to start worrying about the $1,900 in costs or rolling it in if you're saving them $300, $400 a month. And we haven't been able to do that for a long time. We got to be careful on how we set the expectation on, yes, and then in 6 or 12 months, we'll do a no-cost refi. We'll do a refi, and we'll give you many options. And we're going to do everything we can to save you money. And I think you have to really change a little bit how it goes. And some of the clients you've been working with for months, maybe since last year, and you've always been telling them, it's not worth paying fees. You got to start re-educating them before they do find that house, and then you pigeonhole yourself into saying, well, I've told this person for the last 12 months, you're not paying any fees. Now on your shift with the way the market is, here's what I would suggest we do. This gives you a little more time, gives you a little bit more comfort on your payment. And again, it's rethinking it. If anybody hasn't seen the movie Blackberry, I just watched it on a plane. If you don't adapt and change, you will see why. If anybody does anybody have a Blackberry in here? No? They didn't adapt and change, and they thought that the threat of Apple and no one's going to want this, because who wouldn't want the clicking and buttons and all that, and just doing it the same old way, and now they're not existent. They're not, not around anymore. So you have to kind of pivot. And even if you've been selling it, that's my biggest thing, is even if you've been selling, same mentality all the time. Oh, this is how we do it. You got to adapt, because this market's like no other. I said it last time. We don't have arms to sell like we did in 07 and 08. There's no HARP loans. This is as tough of a market. So when we come out the other side of it, it's going to be probably the most rewarding. I would predict it's probably going to be more rewarding, maybe not fiscally per se, but to everybody in the industry, because of how hard it's been for 2 years with having almost nothing to sell or no. You get these clients and you're talking to them and you're like, God, I wish I could do this for you. I wish I could do that. But when it comes on the other side, it's probably going to be more rewarding, because they'll be back to a 30-year fixed and an ARM. There'll be spreads. There'll be options. There'll be refis. There'll be no cost, low cost. You'll have everything. Right now, what if everybody have to sell one thing? You're buying a house. Yeah, you're at 8. Yeah, I did say 8. Yep, that's what I said, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Boy, my last house, I'm at 3 1/8. I don't know if I want to move. I get it. But it will be rewarding. And I do think because they went higher, they've stayed higher for longer, it won't take rates getting back into the 4s, which whether they do or don't at any point, for people to start leaving their high 3s or even low 4s or low 3s when they want to move. Because they've been in the 8s, it's probably doing us an indirect favor in the long run. I'm not saying it feels like it is right now. Probably feels like, that sucks. But it is doing us a little bit of a favor in the long run. Because every time an 8's been out there, if any of these are right, and everybody, Henny pointed out that dotted line was from July. Okay, I have the email, I sent it out to some people just not that long ago. In July, these same places predicted, so it's August, September, October. 3 months ago, they predicted, now it's that much. So that can change on a good or bad that quick. But whenever it does change, and we do start seeing, just think about it, was 75 days ago, and we were just crossing the 7s going, well, we can still get 6s and all that. If you could get 6s right now, how happy to be. Every builder we talk to, the builders, our own builders, other builders are like, is there any way we can get a 599 on something? Great, okay, great. But now some of them are starting to be like, and Scotty, we've talked about this yesterday. I mean, could we get something that would be in the mid-6s? We're over here going, oh my God, if we got to mid-6s right now, you'd be all these deals and you'd be so much business and all that. But at the end of the day, it's changing the approach on the front end, adapting. And if you've got clients that you're not even talking to them for all, reach back out to them, let them know, hey, I know you were looking, I know you're not, the market's shifting, we're ready, here's where we're at. Just get in front of them, something to talk about, and adapt. If you don't adapt and change, then you will be Frazier or Lewis or whoever got knocked down there, But Rocky changed when he went and trained with Apollo, for everybody that remembers. He learned how to not be a street fighter, and he won. So that's how that.
You can catch a chicken really good too.
Yeah, he's lightning fast Italian tank. So that's it. Just make sure you're changing. And if you got deals that you're running in against, I know you guys do a good job emailing, calling, but don't hesitate. We want to help any way we can help structure it. And sometimes you're in the middle of the fight and maybe a perspective from, hey, here's what I'm running up against. We might just have, not that we know anything that anybody else doesn't, but we might be able to be like, we're one step removed going, well, shit, did you think of this? Or maybe we could do this, So don't hesitate to be like, I'm out, I'm not going to get this one. We'll do everything we can on every one of these deals. So I was not supposed to talk more than 5 minutes, so. What am I covering?
State script. Or that I can talk about.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to that, so maybe you should.
Okay. Just really quick, I think that most people are looking at this a lot of the times when you have the option to look at home ready and home possible for the pricing advantage of that versus non-home ready and home possible. And not necessarily just when you're at the max LTV at 97, you'll still see it at 95. I think most people are looking at this. But a few things to remember is that you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. I think in the market, that's what a lot of people think. We've done a lot of education in this room, so we think we're good there. Metro income limit is now up to close to 100 grand. And there is the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac each have their search tool that you can use to search outside of the Metro to see what the income limit is in that particular area. So I can get those sent out again to everybody. LP has been allowing higher ratios, so I would recommend looking at both Fannie and Freddie. And one key thing with it, and Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, for home ready and home possible, we're only going to care about the income that's on the 1003 that's being input into the AUS. So if you have two borrowers on the application, you don't necessarily have to take B2 completely off the app if you don't want to use their income. You can just leave their income blank and don't put their income docs in the file. All right?
But if they have like a salary, like using a borrower's salary, we
Yep.
can salary to get it below. We can remove OT and bonus, but we can't do salary to get it under the.
Yeah, perfect. So we can't get too creative. We have to, whatever income source we're using, we have to calculate it as normal and use that. But if somebody has overtime, bonus, commission, everything like that, you only have to use whatever income sources you choose to. So you can get creative to a limit on how you structure that income to get it below the qualifying income limits. Because remember, it's not household income. It's qualifying income on the 1008, 1003. So this was just a scenario yesterday with the pricing was a pretty massive difference, home possible versus non-home possible in price and rate. So I recommend looking at that on every deal, not just at 97 LTV. What? Oh, well, just price out home ready and home possible. All right.
No, that's for every deal. 80%.
Yeah, you can do it on everything if you want to. Check it out. The higher LTV, I think you're going to get a little better price improvement, but you can look at it with everything. With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Nast.
All right, I just wanted to take a couple minutes here and just kind of do a refresher with our one-time close product. I mean, Jay alluded to, in this market, a lot of products have gone away. The one thing we've stayed steady and created this year was a one-time close product. A lot of you guys in here have used it and have files on the books, loans on the books. But a couple things I want to go over, one being a reminder. Every Monday, Rob does send an email that's on the far right over there with the rates, okay? And also just, 5 bullet points there of those criteria to get those rates, okay? So when you do enter those into Encompass, just double check and just see where's your credit score at, where's your ratios at, do they have reserves? Because we are pricing it, to be clear, we're pricing these pretty aggressively. If you were to throw something into OB right now with a 740 score, 80% LTV, see what 7.875 prices out of, okay? As a company, we've been pretty aggressive, and we have some lower interest rate deals on the books right now that, we're sitting on. But it is super important to collect those fees, okay? So if we get 9 months down the line and we're sitting on a 7.5 rate and rates are still 8, at least we have some fees there, some points that help offset that. Okay, so again, keep an eye on those rates. They can change every week. So, if you talked to someone 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and they finally called you back and said, yep, I'm moving forward with this build. You told me your rate's 7.25. Well, it's 7.875. It's just like anything else in the market. It can change every Monday. Okay. Now, if you fall outside of that box, if your credit score is 720, 705, call us. Jay, Rob, and I will huddle around, just we'll look at the deal, see what other circumstances, LTV, DTIs, things like that, and maybe we can throw a different price out there to still get the deal done. All right? Now to move on, there's a reason we have these criteria, okay? Because I think a lot of times right now we close these things up front, we think we're done, it's all done. Well, really what this product has given us is really all it means is our investors will buy a modification from us, okay, Fannie or whoever, one of our investors. So when this house gets done, or when it's almost to completion, okay, talking to Brad, we're going to keep that original loan file open in Encompass. We have to go back in there, okay? And we have to run new credit, because all this stuff is going to be dated from your first closing, right? So in order for us to have a package that's able to sell, all of our documentation has to be current, okay? Which means a new credit report, because those are only good for what, 90, 120 days. Which then also means you also have to get the email from the client, hey, is it okay to pull your credit? You're gonna have to send the appraiser back out there to do a recert of value if your appraisal's under a year, along with that in a final inspection, okay? We are gonna have to get updated income docs, okay? Hopefully a lot of you, if your borrowers are W-2'd, just simply get written, okay? When you have this information, okay, we're going to, and really we just have a couple of these houses getting done now, so this is kind of a trial run for us right now, right? We're gonna have to go back into that file, and we're almost gonna make it look like, we are gonna make it look like a rate and term refi, okay? And with all this updated information, we're gonna have to run updated findings. They gotta have current findings in there for this loan to be saleable, okay? At that time too, the other drive reports, your data verifiers, flood certs, all that stuff's got to happen at the end. Okay. So I'm going to go back to what I just said. Your credit report expires after 120 days.
Yes.
So yes.
We're mandatory, and if we take it in the shorts, we'll take it in the shorts.
So, but Keller, that's a great point. Going back to the part on the far right, that's why we set some of these guidelines, because it's realistic right now. People are charging credit cards up. They might miss a car payment. Their credit score could go down. That's why we want a starting point when we close the front end loan at 760, 740, you know, so it gives them a little room if it does go down. Okay. So yeah.
If it is a lower credit score, the bank will take it. We would just do it as a 2-time close, right? So you could have a construction loan option, but if we're going to do this 1-time close, you know, we want to have a higher scores.
Well, let me jump in real quick. Now, I'm talking about this a lot. Jump in again, but and this is just me, I'm just being 100% honest. He said something that's very important. You asked the question, you followed up. The debt that people are taking on right now is a lot. And my personal opinion is 740 is too low. We're keeping it there right now. But it's critical that before we say, yep, you're all approved, if you have someone that's just on that fringe, heavy debt use and all that, we probably need to look at it before you say, hey, here's what it's going to look like. Because you kind of have to trust that you guys are going to look at that and be another, you know, extension of the eyes and ears. Like, you see someone that's a 741, you're like, man, they're loaded with debt. That thing comes right on the fringe. Before you say, hey, yeah, here's your rate, here's everything you do, we probably need to get it to Tom. We probably need to look at it because there's a good chance that 741 will probably not be there in 6-9 months. High probability. It's just hokey, right? Is it not? Odds are kind of like this. So maybe we look at that and maybe we make a little bit of a different recommendation. And he might mention the 2-time close. There's a couple deals that we looked at that were like, no, I'm not doing this. We have no out on a 1-time close. On a 2-time, it still has to be qualified for the end, but we're not pigeonholed into it. Here's your rate. You don't have to do anything in terms of the client. You've got the rate. You might do a 2-time close and say we're closing, and your only option is an arm is us. We might have some options. We've got to be careful to not get so close to those parameters. Again, a lot of clients are 740, they're not heavy debt users, no big deal, but some you know. And some are just low end. And we can't have that conversation. I already told them their rate this, and now you're asking. So really, no one on a construction loan, but oh my God, I got to close today, right? It's a conversation. So just have those conversations. here's our rough parameters. We kind of get everything approved, we look at the whole picture, but, you know, again, really work with Tom on that, the profile is right with the grader.
And I believe, and I think we have this form somewhere too. I think Lucas drew it up one time. It's still, I get it, it's a one-time close, and that's what your clients think. But there is a good piece that, hey, during construction, it's a good reminder to your clients. It talks about taking out debt or, you know, this and that. These are the things we don't want you doing over the next 6 to 8 months. Okay? You could just relay it to them that, hey, it's every right of ours to monitor your debt during this. Okay? And if we turn a calendar year, yep, we're going to need some updated income documentation. Just a good reminder to them that, yes, you're in a one-time close, but we're still going to need some stuff from you. You're still relaying to us that you're going to stay as good as you are right now.
I mean, and you can flip the script on that as well, too, because obviously if you look at the graphs of where interest rates are going, deals are closing down in the next few months, they're going to be modifying out at the very end of next year to see where rates are at. If you make sure that they are on a credit score enhancement plan and on point with that, the possibilities for a float down using that higher FICO score are there. So positive spin on it. So it's not just about defensive, don't screw this up. Also, let's maximize that opportunity for a float down when we do get to that point, closer to home completion as well too. So it just gets them thinking in that protect and enhance my credit mindset.
Well, it's probably really dumb, but do you have to, every loan has to get modified?
That's a great question, because I was just going to bring that up. It is not. That's the one misleading thing. Every one of our loans will have a modification. They will have to come in and sign a piece of paper, okay? Because really it's probably the last part. If you see terms that can be modified, interest rate, loan amount, loan term, it's the start date. That's, if anything, you can just let them, you got to come in and sign this piece of paper, because if your house is done today, you're signing your principal and interest. First payment's going to be December 1st, and you're going to be in your permanent mortgage. So everyone, their interest rate, their loan amount, nothing might change. You're just coming in to sign this piece of paper, because that's the piece of paper we need in our file to be able to make it saleable to the secondary. So every single one is going to have a modification, because we need all of that top part to go along with this new file.
I mean, theoretically, if you ran it all the way to the end, theoretically speaking, you wouldn't. But we also set up escrows for most of these, and they got to come in and sign those forms as well too. And again, when
they got to get their construction interest current, whatever the outstanding.
So I mean, the realities are it's a one-time mortgage filing is really what the reality of it is.
What this has allowed us to do is, that's the biggest point, is there are no additional fees. There is no new MRT or lender's policy, any of that. That just all carries over from your first close. So there's no modification fee. No. The only time you would have additional fees is if you have someone that did a $500,000 loan and they want to bump it to $525 at the end. You can modify up, but that difference in MRT, that 25 grand, whatever, you'll have a little bit more title insurance and a little bit more MRT if they go up. That's the only time you'd have to be. Other than that, there are no. The money they would have to come in with would be your interest, and then if they want to set up escrows. Okay.
So we shouldn't need new assets.
It depends. If you run it through DO and it's not asking for assets, no. That's why it should just be. That's why when we're running it again at the end, it just set it up as a rate and term refi. Run it in there showing that they wouldn't need any money. So it should just be updated income that we would need.
And when they modify the 2024 Fannie Mae loan limit will apply. So it could be a case of somebody's dumping a ton of money down and they wanted to take out a smaller loan because rates aren't great. If they improve, loan to values work, but that's kind of a selling point too. There's a lot of flexibility with that end mortgage, and we don't know for sure what the loan limit is going to be, but I think it's going to be north of 750, so that might be.
But just on the front end again, just want to reiterate, just let your clients know, just because there are some things that they're going to have to do for that, and a lot of people expect that anyway. For whatever reason, when they're in a construction loan, most customers I talk to, they don't even think they're in the real mortgage yet. So yeah, just remind them there's a couple things that we have to do on the end. and they will physically have to come in and sign one or two things.
And the other reason we do a 2-time closing, assuming they're conforming, is their credit score. Right?
Reason we do 2-time closings, the construction to perm, that way would be second homes. Can't do second homes on this. Can't do non-owner occupied, co-signers, whatever you want to call them. If credit scores are a little bit low, if it's just outside of the box. Jumbos.
This is just a backstop. Like, this is the worst case scenario. If you can do the float down, or we
Yeah.
could turn the 2-time close.
I'm going to talk a little strategy. Hold on, I'm going to talk a little strategy here too.
Yeah, you can always 2-time close and actually refi it out if
Yeah.
some crazy loan program manifests itself in 2024 and the rates are awesome and whatever else. Like, there's no prepayment penalty or anything.
The one thing this does come with is a 12-month term of an interest-only payment. So your house gets done in month 7. They can stay in this loan, just make interest-only payments, okay? And our selling tool, this is just for us in this office business-wise, because some of these deals were upside down on if we closed at a 7.25 or something like that. Sell to them, hey, you get a one-time float down. So we can sit in your current 7.25 rate right now, watch the market for you, and maybe in January, maybe in February, it comes down to 6.99, you know. But just relay, you get that one-time amount. So it's okay to sit in this if you want when that house is done, because you do have that 12-month term. That's just a business strategy on our end, you know, because we don't want to try to modify and sell a loan on a secondary market if it's at 6.99 or something like that.
But that is a nice feature because a lot of these people build non-contingent, they have houses to sell, and they can actually, let's say their house gets done in month 8, right? Now they move out of their current home, they get it up listed and going. It might take 90 days for that to close, right? So now they have those, they still are sitting on an IO payment on a construction loan. So hopefully they get that sold and gone before 12 months. Now they kick it in, they amortize it. So it's kind of a cash flow management tool.
But that's a huge, huge benefit.
And then you can mod down too. So if people have excess cash coming out of their sale of their house, they might want to mod down that deal. So again, just another reason to kind of kick the can down the road.
You know, you can sell it that you're looking out for them. Hey, we're trying to get you a better rate than this, and you have a one-time float down to do it. So let's watch the market a little bit.
So let's say a house is done in March and rates are still 8, and my people locked in at 7.25. They can keep that interest only even though the home's done. And then let's say they go down to 6.875, do the float down, then do we have a certain amount of time that we have to execute or to do that?
Yeah, think of it just as a regular refi.
Because it'll be that lock period, like
It'd be like
no longer than the maturity of the construction loan, but then if that's a 30-day lock, and you know, you got to get that thing.
Think of it just like that. Exactly. Look at the market, watch the market. Hey, a 30-day lock, I can get this done, this deal modified in 30 days because everything's done. For sure. Look at it as just a new lock.
One thing to be clear on, this might help, I'm sure everyone follows this, but when we put these on the line, there's no lock. There's no hedge. We are completely in the wind as far as just hoping the rates come back within 9-12 months. So with that being said, hopefully that gets everybody's mind around, it's not like the one-time close. And again, I think that is a little confusing because up until early last year, we had one-time close and we were selling the TCB, right? Close on the rate, that's all done. They have that all accounted for. We are literally, when we put the rate, that is what the rate is. If, like, we have the first one to 6.5. It's already done. It happens to be somebody that's mine, and I'm like, no, why would you want to convert that to first? Toe dragging this thing, I'm going to do, but I'm not telling them, wait until April, or because what if the market does improve when we have that opportunity, like a good running back to hit the hole and say, hey, let's convert this to permanent. So you kind of got to play that little bit of this, but we're completely not locked on anything until we convert and lock. So it is a, you know, it's a strategy, like a massive kind of move. Strategy when you get to that point going, okay, no, obviously the hope would be you put a 7.49 on and all of a sudden it gets to their house is done and it's 7.25. You're like, hey, why wouldn't you? So you don't want to say, hey, you're never going to be, if it's lower or it's close, we want to get that converted done. Right? Because the also aspect is the rate for refi is the way that we're locking them. pricing on rates for refis are not as good as purchases if you ever look at them right now. That could change. So that means we even have more of a little bit of a gap there. So when you price it out and have to lock it, it's the rates for refi. So there is a lot of stuff. That's why if you have any going, you gotta stay, I know it's not fun, but you gotta stay in contact with Tom. Pleasant gentlemen.
Dave brought up a good point there too, because a lot of you guys a handful of you guys did do the TCB one-time close from a year ago or whatever else. That was a portfolio product. Okay, so you truly didn't have to do anything at the end. I mean, it was theirs when that 12 months was up. They're just holding on to those and billing those, and it just converted. This is different from, this is a Fannie, this is a secondary market product. That's why we have to do stuff at the end and get it ready. So
You're pricing out the end on this, is the execution the same? We're trying to get to 1.5 in theory, or not pricing out at par, we're still needing to execute on blocking the end loan.
ideally, you want to execute at the end.
Yeah, we just,
Just
treat it internally like that. The costs of the client are still good mod.
Yeah.
Yep, but yeah, we're trying to treat it, that's our revenue, like we're not really.
Is it the same as the through time as we've got that one or that 1.5?
But there's keep in mind, you have 75 basis points that you executed on upfront.
Correct, which is big.
Which is huge.
Yeah, so
Which is huge. Because we don't have to use any of that money to pay MRT or anything.
That's a huge help.
So, but you have that.
Then,
Pricing, yes.
Yep. So, good question, but yes, keep in mind, you did take in fees up front.
we'll clarify, because we're selling a mod, we could see, purchase price, that's a good point, because I know a lot of jumbo deals, it's rate and term taken out of construction loan, we can get, purchase money pricing on that, so. That's a good point.
But yeah, we just wanted to talk, just because there is so much risk on that front end. So when you have that client, you're like, oh, I don't understand why we went through this one. The ratio's only 45. I'm getting a DO approval and this and that. Just a lot can happen over 6-9 months. And suddenly we get to the end and now we don't have a saleable loan. So, I mean, we do want to look at them, when you have them, when they come in, but we're trying to stick to that box. We really are, just because there's so much risk over that 6 to 9 months of the bill. So, but yeah, if you ever have questions, buzz me, shoot me an email. I just, right now, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, that's, the market right now is a builder's, people are building. There's an existing inventory out there to buy. So this is what, if anybody out there getting a new home, most of them are building. A lot of builders are going to construction financing unless you're a big national, but.
Yeah, good question too on collecting payments on this stuff. Traditional mortgages collect the interest on payments. So all the payments are going out to ACH requests to the client. Once we do close on these, they get booked into the system, and then as the draws are being taken out, they get rebooked. So the clients are receiving a very well detailed email with a breakdown of their draws, payments, and everything. It's really nice. We'll send out an example one just sent out, so it's really well communicated with the client on everything.
Because we get that question a lot too with some that have closed. They're going right out around the 18th, 19th of the month now that we have it set up. And make sure your clients check their spam or junk emails. We've been getting a lot of, hey, I didn't see it. Then they go in there, where it comes from, sometimes it will go filtered into their junk.
IP comes from Willow, so sometimes that can get picked up.
Yeah.
Again, whoever you have on the loan, both bars, single bar, whatever's on there, are both getting notifications on that payment.
I have a question on that. Dan had very, updated people to that email.
To the payment, CC?
Yeah.
First page, just so that you can get the extra content. For the payment.
Yeah, starting next month, any loan that we're collecting first payment on, either normal loan or on the one-time close, the LO will be included on payment notification that went out to the client. So that'll start next month for all first payments that we send out.
one thing that just came to mind too, the nice thing with stuff that we need at the end, one thing you don't see on there that we do not need is a whole new RESPA package. That's done up front, so it's important, again, to get all that normal stuff up front for the one-time close. So when you get a message back from me saying, hey, I don't see RESPA signed in there, that's the reason. We got to get all that stuff e-signed and back and saved in the original file so we have it, because that's the RESPA package that goes out at the end to our investors. We don't do a new RESPA package when you modify. Timeframes too on the last thing I want to cover on the one-time close. We are pulling this off a special line of credit that's still held at TCB. The one thing that we cannot close our one-time close until they get back to me and say that they reviewed and cleared the appraisal. Okay, so, and for whatever reason, those are taking a couple days. Once we get the appraisal in, they do an internal review of it. But that's really the only hold up on their end. That appraisal has to be cleared before we do close on the upfront. I just want to read it because they sent that message to me, and I just wanted to reiterate that. Because people think once we finally get the appraisal back and everything, hey, let's close tomorrow. Well, I do have to get the okay from them that they're ready for it. So, any other questions? Otherwise, I mean, everything's been going good. How the loan officer, how you guys want to do it, or work with your assistants or processors at the end, you know, just keep that in mind, the information that we're going to need.
Keep in mind too, when you're talking about these construction firms too, we do have TLS for bridge loans. If people are bouncing back and forth with down payments, we talk to Lynn on that as well too, because we can obviously piggyback off of the credit package that's already in our system. So I think a lot of you have done a TLS loan at some point, so I think everybody's pretty familiar with it. It's kind of a nice differentiator, but obviously that bridge loan piece too, make sure to let people know that.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. All right, I think we can transition here into the main focus of the day, our small group breakout discussions. So here are the 4 topics that I had mentioned on the staff meeting yesterday, the company call. I neglected to send them out again, but hopefully everybody heard them on the call and saw them on the agenda. Do you want to talk a little bit about the groups and kind of your vision for afterwards?
Sure can. Yeah, we do that right now.
Yeah, let's do it right now.
Okay, so we're just kind of randomly selected groups to get together, obviously, to talk about kind of what you're doing right now to create that structure, to kind of stay in contact with our clients and referral sources, and just thoughts and ideas, self-marketing, referral source management, and otherwise. But we're going to have these groups, and we'll create kind of an email distribution list, and the hope would be that once a month, kind of set up a check-in, whether that's getting together in person or just do a conference call or go to meetings to see how it's going and share ideas. Obviously, we do these big roundtables and group get-togethers, and it's a big, massive deal. But I think there's a lot of power in just kind of having a small group where a little more rapport and accountability with each other too. So that's kind of the idea behind it. So hopefully you can, come up with some ideas, build your blueprint, and then circle back in a month. The 5-round fight, round 1, kind of share after a month, kind of what you're doing, and kind of, we'll do it again as well too. So when we have the next round table, the idea would be to break up in these groups and then we can further build on what we're doing. So yeah, that's kind of the game plan.
Perfect. All right, so here are the groups up on the big screen here, and for folks on the call, for people that are not here, we do have everybody in a group. I hope I got everybody. I triple checked last night. I think I got everybody into the randomly assigned groups here. So for folks that are not here, that are on the call, or that will be listening to this later, I do have everybody in a group. So we can kind of get everybody connected afterwards with emails, and then like Henny said, we'll continue this next month. So with that, I'm going to let everybody that is on the call go here, and I will reconnect with everybody later. Thank you guys for joining.